What's up, survivors? My name is Cap and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some more 7 Days to Die. I got another tutorial for you, but in this one I'm not going to be showing you how to build something or how to find something, but rather an in-game mechanic that you should know how it works to help you survive. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about a heat map. And a heat map in this game, and in many games that use the concept of it, determines how much activity is going on in a certain area. Now, the heat map is not an actual viewable map. It's not something you can physically look at here. It's more of a concept or an idea, really. It doesn't measure thermal energy such as what you would get from a campfire. So, heat map, let's just refer to it as an activity level. The more activity level going on in an area, the more likely zombies are going to come and investigate the source. When you do certain activities in a small amount of area, the heat for that area will actually increase. And once it reaches a high enough level, it'll catch the attention of one or more screamer zombies and they'll summon in. And then they will walk around and try to find the source of the heat. And if they find it, or a structure that they want to try and get through to get to it, they'll start pounding on it and they'll start screaming, which they can do about once every 20 seconds. Now, depending on how long you've been playing, screamers will summon in a small horde of zombies. The longer you've been playing, the further in days you are, the bigger the horde, so the harder it's going to get. And there's a small chance they could summon in other screamers. But before I can get into a real in-depth explanation as to how the heat is actually measured and how it goes up there, I need to explain to you guys what a chunk is in the game, because this is also something that's kind of behind the scenes. So, prepare to get a little bit nerdy. So this is a map of Nailguns, the default world of 7 Days to Die. Now this isn't mine, I didn't create this. I will give credit to the gentleman who created this from the forums, showing what it is. This is actually a map of the different regions in the game, not the chunks, but the concept is the actual same. You can see the map is covered in horizontal and vertical lines that create square areas of land all throughout the entire world. Now, any kind of game that randomly generates or has a voxel-based creation like 7 Days to Die does using the Unity engine, or Minecraft specifically, because that's kind of where a huge generation of a lot of games being procedurally generated sparked from, use the same kind of concept, using 16 by 16 blocks of land called chunks, and each of those chunks is generated independently. Now, the programmers go through and decide how the chunks are actually generated, which, one have a road, might have a house, might have an intersection, how they load up with each other. But each little bit of area of land is 16 by 16 blocks, and that governs its own rules, its own entities, everything that happens in the game within that. So what I have here is I've used wood frames to block off a 16 by 16 square in the world. This is one chunk of the game. There are thousands of chunks because a 16 by 16 set of area is not that big. But within the game, all the information of what's going on in this chunk is in just this little bit of area. Now, it's not just two-dimensional, so it's not just flat. It's also on the X, Y, and Z axis, so it's all the way down to the bedrock and all the way up to the sky for this little bit of area, this 16 by 16 group of information in the game, we'll call it that. Now, over on the left-hand side of the screen, and I'll try and blow it up when I'm doing the editing so you can see it better, I've loaded up the debug menu in the game, and I'm not going to go into how to actually access that. You can look that up as well. But you can see over there the heat index is showing at 0%, and you can see what chunk I'm in. And as I move around here, you'll see that the chunk name changes, or the chunk number, to kind of let you know where the boundaries of the chunks are. Now, the different activities you do affect the heat itself. Most common things people are going to use are going to be forges and campfires. Now, when you just put them down there, they're not doing anything, they're not generating any heat. But these are two of the biggest heat sources that you're going to get in the game without extensive activity. When you access it, put a little bit of fuel in here. As you can see, the heat is still at 0 over there, but as soon as I turn it on, the heat jumps up to 2. And it'll continue to stay at 2 for a little while. And the longer this actually runs, the more it's going to grow here. Campfires and forges go up by 2 for every 25 minutes in game. So for every 25 minutes real time that this actually runs, the heat is going to go up. Even if you turn it off, you can see the heat is still there. It'll take it a while for that heat to go down. And once that number gets to a certain level, that's when the screamer starts getting summoned in. Now, item usage in the game generates heat on a per usage basis. So like weapons and explosive. Each one of these will increase the heat every time you actually use the item. So just having your gun out is not going to do anything to the heat. But let's say the 44 Magnum I'm using now. Every time you fire this off within a chunk, it's going to raise the heat by 0.3. So I shoot it off, you can see it goes up to 2.3. 2.6, 2.9, 3.2, etc. And that will continue to go up the more I use it there. And explosives can go up just the same, but if you use something really big like a pipe bomb, it can go up by 5. TNT makes it go up by 5. All the different landmines make it go up by 5. So excessive amounts of explosives from firearms and actual explosive devices will make the heat go up really quickly. Now, also something to keep in mind is that the heat from one chunk, one little 16 by 16 area of land, can bleed over into the surrounding chunks. As you can see, the heat in this one is at 3.2, and all I've done is just fire off my gun and turn the forge on a little bit. But as you can see, as I move down the road, I'll move to different chunks, and the heat is still there. Now, from what I've been able to kind of figure out, the heat seems like it stays a surrounding of about 4 chunks away from where you were, about like a 4x4 grid away from where all of the actual energy is. See, I'm down this far away from where I was at, and there's no heat here. But as soon as I walk into this chunk that's about 3 chunks away from it, then it jumps back up there. So you can see how quickly just a little bit of energy, a little bit of activity in one small chunk can completely affect the entire surrounding area. Another thing that will generate heat for the area in which you're in here is by killing animals, such as a deer. When you first kill it, it doesn't do anything. It just kind of sits here, gives you a chance to go through and actually scalp it and take its hide, maybe get some bone, things of that nature. But if you leave it here long enough, eventually it'll turn into what's known as a gore block. Looks like a big gelatinous glob of blood and guts. It's really disgusting looking. But the gore blocks will actually increase the heat for an area too. And so those are one of those things you want to make sure you take care of. So after you've completely destroyed a body, an entity, whatever you want to call it, for an animals and stuff, you want to go through and make sure you completely destroy them. When you see the gore blocks popped up there, you can use things like a shovel or a melee weapon like this and just go to town on it, and it'll eventually go away, and you'll leave nice little bloody specks on the ground where it used to be. Now this right here is okay, that's not going to attract anything, but this is where a big gelatinous glob used to be standing. So I know this has been an incredibly nerdy video and probably not all that entertaining, but hopefully it's been very useful to you guys, because this is the kind of concept that you need to wrap your head around to understand why you might be having excessive amounts of hordes show up in your general area, and kind of give you a thing to keep an eye on as far as like the amount of heat that you're generating. So you don't want to have a ton of forges running inside the house that you're living. You know, maybe build a shack just a few chunks away from where your house is, put your forges in there, you can run them all day long, not a big deal. So anyway, if you found the video useful, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button down there, because it truly does help. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the future videos. Have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as I possibly can. Thank you guys so much for your time. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.